Hello everyone, my name is Gabriel. I have the Nintendo Switch 2. Here's me holding it, and here's me reading my bank statement that came in the mail the same day. It's been a few days, so I've had some time to play around with it and formulate an opinion on it. So, without further ado, the Nintendo Switch 2, 4 days in. The first thing that I thought when I saw the box is the same thing everyone else probably thought when they looked up the Switch 1.
It's a lot smaller than I thought it would be.
Seriously, it's smaller than the Switch 1 OLED box, which is smaller than a normal Switch 1 box. Anyway, opening it up, I was greeted by the Joy-Cons and the tablet part of the console, packed in a different but similar way to the Switch 1. Removing them from plastic, they all feel nice to hold. I'd even go as far as to say as nice as hold as the Wii U's gamepad. Attached to the Joy-Cons though, which have magnets, it feels wonderful in my hands, like a second skin even. The magnets are a nice touch and make it a bit more user-friendly, especially for older or younger people or people with disabilities. There's only one thing that worries me. Does dropping it ruin its polarity? The dock is similar, but different at the same time. I do, however, like the more rounded build compared to the rectangle that the Switch 1's dock is, and the back is quite nice too. And there's a USB port on the top now!
Oh, it took them 8 years.
The back comes off to reveal the HDMI port, AC port, and LAN port. Only thing is, the cords have just this small hole. Otherwise, the back can't go on correctly. Alright, let's move on. Setting up wasn't too bad, very straightforward. Except for the SD card part, I got so confused. But I eventually got past that and copied all 10,300 photos and videos.
Yes, you heard that right. And yes, I don't look back at 90% of them.
And after setting it all up,
Nothing bad.
oh,
Talk about deja vu.
most everything here is the same, making it a bit hard to believe this is a new console, but don't worry, you're not crazy, Nintendo is. In fact, many are angry at the fact that, apparently, Nintendo announced before launch that when you buy the console, you're not actually buying it, you're paying for the right to play their console, and if they detect anything's been changed, for example modding, they have the right to break your console. I guess it's their attempt to combat modding or piracy, but us humans have a big problem with not giving up. I did get Mario Kart World bundled with my console, so I played it with my ma. As a person who never really got into it growing up, it was honestly really fun. It was challenging, and there's a bunch of silly characters you'd never think you'd see as playable characters, such as Fish, Spiky Dude, Dead Fish, Cow, which honestly, in my opinion, adds quirkiness, and I, for one, am a fan of weird and quirky. The controls take a bit of getting used to, but for me, once I understood them, it felt ingrained. The steering with this wheel felt pretty good as well. I think it could be just a bit better, especially when it sometimes doesn't feel like it's responding, but otherwise, it's great. It's just too small for me compared to the Wii wheels. Another gripe I have is that while Mario Kart World is really fun, there's no other new games. Sure, you have the Switch 2 editions of games like Zelda, but those aren't new games, just re-releases with extra content. You could also put the GameCube games in that category, which I failed to mention, Nintendo's releasing exclusively on the Switch 2 if you have Nintendo Switch Online. This is 8 years after the Switch 2. You're telling me you couldn't make more than one game at all? That's more than just a racing game. To be fair, they did just release a new Zelda game a couple of years ago, but it's still strange and deters people from purchasing this console, as there's just basically nothing there yet. Even third-party developers have only really re-released games. Most will likely wait until a sale like at Christmas or for more than just one new game to be there. On a side note, Splatoon Raiders was announced on the new console, the first ever spin-off for the series. It'll be set on some islands, a nautical theme. The big thing to me was that there doesn't seem to be any mention of the new Squid Beak Splatoon. just deep cut, and a new playable character who's a mechanic, which means I was kind of on the right track with my theory. It'll be featuring a new set of characters along with a new storyline that strays away from the new Squid Pig Splatoon and the series' general path as a whole. At least, that's what it seems like. On a side note, I played Splatoon 3 for about an hour and the battery dropped from 100% to 60%, so I'd say the battery life overall is probably around 2 to 2.5 hours depending on what game you're playing.
In conclusion, it's a well-built console in my personal opinion. But for $450 at the base price, listen, I don't mind paying that much money for a console, but it's not far off from a PlayStation 5 that will outperform the Switch 2 any day of the week. That makes it not really worth it for a lot of people, including myself. But if you're a Nintendo fan, you'll likely pick this console up at some point if you haven't already. Unless you're a pirate, there's no other way to play Nintendo games. They don't release them anywhere else. You could argue that Nintendo may be scared after the Wii U era, but there's a difference between being cautious and being greedy. But if your console ever gets bricked, you can just use it as a holder for, I don't know, printer paper. That is if you don't punch your printer 500 times because it's not working, like me.